expecting, all right, welcome everybody. I'm expecting a few more folks to join us as we're getting started, but I don't want to take up too much of Doug's time because I know he's got a lot of great material to go through with us today. As we're kicking off, welcome to AFP-WNC's September 2022 program. My name is Ben Underwood. I'm serving as chapter president, and I'm joined by several other board members on the call, including President-elect Tiffany Armstrong, Chelsea, who's been our communications chair, Amy, who's an at-large member, and is taking on another role in 2023. So thanks for being here. And Ben, Annie, and Jessica, happy to see you too. Want to thank our sponsors at the top of the call. Our title sponsor is UNC Asheville, and we are also very fortunate to have sponsorship support from Western Carolina University and the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina. Those entities underwrite all of our activities over the course of the year, so many, many thanks to them. Please mark your calendars for our upcoming events. I'm going to go through October through January really quickly here. October 19th, we are in person at the Wedgett Foundation. Cheryl Aikman, formerly of the Community Foundation, now an independent consultant, is going to present on planned giving. If you've ever heard Cheryl speak on this before, you know she's an expert and also adept at helping meet people where they are in setting up a planned giving program. So mark your calendar, be sure to come out for that. Then in November, on the 16th at the Crown Plaza, we're hosting National Philanthropy Day as a luncheon. Winners have been announced. Registration is open. So please go ahead and find your registration there. And we are also offering Spirit of Philanthropy tables. And so if your organization would like to recognize someone at the event, you can purchase a table and your honoree will be recognized in the printed program and from the podium on the day of. That's been a nice way for a lot of local organizations whose nominees maybe did not get the top spot in the program to be able to offer some recognition. So consider those. Then on December 14th, we'll be back at the Wedge at 4 o'clock with Mark Weinstein, the executive director of the Brevard Music Center and an expert fundraiser. And he'll be speaking on the executive director as fundraiser. Then as we roll into 2023, on January 18th, we'll have a virtual program at 11:30 hosted by Rachel Walker of Cornell University on prospect research and conducting prospect research with little capacity and little budget, because I think that's the situation that most of us are in. And I see Ben Pendry stroking his chin, which indicates he's got thoughts on that. A few more people coming in to the session, and I will just say a few words of introduction about Doug. If you haven't met Doug, now is your opportunity, and congratulations on that. I've come to really value Doug as a colleague and friend over the last several years, and really happy he's here with us today. You're going to see in just a moment that he's an accomplished speaker and facilitator. Doug works with a lot of different groups. He works with boards, leadership, and staff, and his consulting firm, Core Consulting, which he founded and is the president of, works with a really wide range of nonprofits. Doug's got 20 years of experience in nonprofit leadership. He's done served in a lot of different roles, which I think makes his guidance and wisdom even more well-rounded. So he's been a CEO, he's been a CDO, he's been a board member, a board chair, and he acts as a mentor and consultant to a lot of nonprofits. Doug also founded the Foothills Nonprofit Collaborative, which is a group that now meets online every month and addresses challenges that nonprofit professionals are facing and really meets a need of providing professional support for a network of nonprofits that don't have that because of the geography of where they're located. So Doug can tell you more about that. I've participated in it. It's great. It's a great group. Doug's also a CFRE. I always like to plug that. And he's also the past chair of the AFP chapter in Charlotte and was on that board for 8 years. So Doug, thanks for your service to AFP. Thanks for joining us today. And I'll hand it over to you to talk us through the basics of crypto philanthropy.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. And I also know another good presenter, which is Ben, who actually presented at one of my sessions of the Foothills Nonprofit Collaborative. So thank you for doing that, Ben. We appreciate your leadership as well. It's a great collaborative group that treat any nonprofit professional, and it's just an opportunity for professional development and to share learned experiences and best practices in a I think a really good environment, if you will. So thanks for this opportunity to talk to you about crypto philanthropy today, especially. I made a New Year's resolution in 2022 that I was going to not necessarily master cryptocurrency knowledge, but I was going to certainly learn a lot more than what I had in my toolkit, I guess is the best way of saying it, because there's a lot to cryptocurrency and crypto philanthropy, and understanding exactly what this thing is can get rather complicated. It's kind of heady, if you will, and so there's a lot about it. So I made it one of my goals this year, not only to become more of a knowledgeable expert in, certainly not the expert, but a knowledgeable person in this field, so that I could help others with this journey, because I think it's really important for us to be thinking about crypto philanthropy and what it means to our organization, and how we can be opening ourselves up to new and different kinds of donations. So I'd like to go ahead and share my screen here real quickly, and we're going to start here. And can you all see my screen? Accepting digital currency donations. Wonderful. All right, we're off. So what I'd like to do is just start talking a little bit about what the typical profile is for somebody who invests in cryptocurrency. So I would say cryptocurrency is most popular with young adults. So about 31% of people ages 18 to 29 have used it, compared to only about 21% of people ages 30 and up. So it's definitely a younger demographic so far, but I think that trend is going to change as its popularity continues to grow. There are more men at this time investing in cryptocurrency, but the interest by women is growing at a more rapid pace than men. So I think we're going to see that balance out over the near future as well. So right now, though, 22% of men say they've used cryptocurrency compared to only 10% of women. But again, the trend is that there's more interest by women moving forward than there is by men themselves. Okay, so again, they're early adopters of technology here. They're more likely to seek risk. So they're people that are really, I think, more in tune to today's technology opportunities and things that are out there. And they're certainly okay with some of the risk that comes along with cryptocurrency. And we're going to talk a good bit about what the risks are in crypto investment, as far as an individual would be interested in it. So what's the attraction then overall? So let's talk about that. Well, number one, the innovation and volatility are really exciting to these crypto investors. They love that it's a new technology. It's really not new anymore. It's over 10 years old. It's been around a good while. I think since 2009 is when crypto began. But there are also low fees. So for those people that use cryptocurrency for international transactions, there aren't the associated fees that would go along with your bank or another financial institution if you're making international transactions. So that is another appealing factor to many people who use cryptocurrency as a form of payment for goods. And it is used as a form of payment most commonly for a lot of different things. We'll talk about that as well. There's not really much government control yet, but that is coming. We'll also jump into that in a little bit. But the IRS does know about this. They already do have their finger on the pulse of crypto philanthropy, and there are some requirements that you will need to take in order to accept cryptocurrency, as well as the donor. And I will address what those requirements are and things that you need to be doing and be aware of. It's not hard. It's just an extra step in the process of accepting that donation. And then the other attraction is terrific gains are possible. I should have put on here also the detractor, which is terrific losses are also possible. And that's what we've seen, the cryptocurrency valuations, it's not a stock, but their valuation has mirrored the stock market a lot. And so what you see happening in the stock market sometimes can impact crypto philanthropy. We're going to talk about valuation and how crypto is actually valued in a moment as well, because I think you'll find it kind of interesting how people actually put a value on crypto. So how is cryptocurrency used? Well, it's used to buy and sell things, essentially. Miami created their own cryptocurrency. For instance, they have Miami coin. And the Miami mayor is actually paid with this cryptocurrency. So you can do a lot of different things with crypto. You can buy a car. You can pay for college tuition at some colleges. You can use it as an investment tool. You can buy a trip. You can take a salary. You can do a lot of different things with cryptocurrency. There are more and more institutions and corporations are now accepting crypto as a form of payment. Okay, so Miami created this coin just a little over a year ago. I think it was August of 2021. And according to the mayor, the government has already earned more than $21 million with its Miami coin since the cryptocurrency debuted just over a year ago. So that gives you an idea of the rapid pace at which things can increase with cryptocurrency. So again, another one of the reasons there is an appeal for this type of salary or this type of transaction. Sorry, I messed my words up. Ben, if you would do me a favor, please. I forgot to ask before we went live if you would capture any questions that might be happening on the backside. And when we pause for questions, certainly I'd love to hear what they are and field anybody's questions.
Sure thing, actually.
Yeah.
But Annie has a question, but I think it's almost a philosophical question. Annie, please clarify. But you just put in the chat, what is it actually? And I think she's asking sort of what is crypto philanthropy and or cryptocurrency? And I know you're kind of getting to that, Doug. Annie.
Yeah, it's a digital asset. Yeah, it's a digital asset is what it is. It's just nothing physical that you can touch. I'm going to jump into that in just a few slides, but yeah, essentially what cryptocurrency is, it's a digital asset. It's stored in what's called the blockchain, which is really a group of a network of computers. So, but I'll jump into that a little bit more detail in just a few minutes. So let's jump into some trends. I think this is really interesting that crypto users at the end of 2021 were at about 295 million, and the projected number of users by the end of this year is going to be $1 billion. So that's absolutely incredible growth. Just incredible growth in the number of users. I think I might have missed a slide. Well, maybe not. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I covered all these trends with you because they're really fascinating. If you go to the next one here, we're talking about 45% of crypto investors donated $1,000 or more to charity in 2020, compared to 33% of the full investor population. So what we're finding here is crypto investors seem to be more charitable than other investors. Okay, so that's really kind of interesting. 16% of Americans have invested in, traded, or actually used cryptocurrency already, and that's over 41 million people in our country so far that have taken advantage of it. This is interesting. 9 in 10 millennials say that charitable giving is an important part of their lives. And why is that important? Well, we have 35% of millennials who own crypto versus just 13% of the general population. So, millennials has been a group, a demographic of people that many nonprofits have kind of scratched their head on. How do we get them engaged? How do we get a contribution out of a millennial? They're a tougher group, and so this has been a challenge that I've heard for quite some time now, for years. But the good news is that this same demographic, some of these people that are these young adults that are working are working in some very good paying jobs. Not all of them, but some of them. And a lot of these millennial people have seen tremendous growth in their portfolio because they started investing years ago when it was newer. So now the gains have been terrific. And I'm going to just illustrate Coinbase's valuation over the entire year for 2021 in just a little while, and you'll see how the valuation can fluctuate so rapidly. But they got in early, okay? The millennials got in early on this. The older adults are still tapping their fingers and still wondering what they should do and if they should purchase some cryptocurrency and trying to learn and get to know a little bit better about what this thing is all about. But they are starting to invest. But the millennial group is definitely a demographic where you could take advantage of this. You could assume that many of the people that give to you who are millennials may have some type of investment in cryptocurrency. And if they have, and if they've had it for years, they've made some terrific gains. And if you have terrific gains, don't forget I told you earlier the IRS is involved. All right. So if there are gains on crypto, they have to pay capital gains taxes just like they would if this is a stock. So one way for them to save on their capital gains taxes is to donate some of their crypto to charity. See where we're going here? Millennials. This is an important demographic and an important trend that I want you to know about, because I think it could help you break the ice with some conversations. Say, did you know, Joe Millennial, that you can save on your taxes by donating some of your cryptocurrency? You know, and they might go, oh, really? I didn't know that. How does that work? And you could go ahead and have that conversation with them. So more nonprofits are accepting other types of contactless payment methods like Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, PayPal, etc. So we're starting to see more nonprofit organizations accepting alternative types of contributions. And we want to, and we really should, right? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it as easy as possible as we can for our donors to make a contribution. We're trying to meet them where they are as far as what their needs are for making a gift. So one way you do that is you allow alternative ways of giving to your organization. And one of the ways you do that is by expanding your portfolio. So this may be something to think about. I know that some of you already may be accepting Google Pay or Venmo or Apple Pay. But have you thought about crypto and some of these other things? And if you haven't thought about these, you know, maybe you should look into it, find out what the impact would be for your organization on the back end side. You know, in partnership, I'm sure your financial manager will want to be involved with that. But this is an important conversation to have. The goal is, again, to make it as easy as possible. Remember when we started creating websites for our organizations, at first we didn't have the giving page because there was probably pushback on there, but we wanted to have that presence. Then we decided, oh, we should really have a giving page. So when we send out our appeals by mail now, we don't just say drop a check in this envelope. We say you can also pay online. So we're giving our donors options. So now we're kind of transforming into adding even more options than before. And I think that's really exciting. So let's talk about donor advised funds for a moment. I think this is really fascinating. You know, last year there were $331 million in crypto donations that were made. 2020, there were $28 million in crypto donations made. That's over 1,000% increase in crypto philanthropy from donor advised funds. Okay, so hopefully you know what donor advised funds. Most of us are savvy enough to know that we have some of our donors that are giving through this vehicle versus giving cash. And the reason that donor advised funds are so important is because there's usually a pretty hefty sum of money that your donors have in those accounts. And so your average gift is typically going to be much higher than if it were a cash gift. I always like to say, remember, your donors, 10% of their assets they have in cash, the other 90% of their assets are non-cash. So when we're talking to donors and they're writing a check for $250 and we say thank you and we will see you next year, we're really not taking advantage of the fact that we know that a lot of their other assets are tied up in other places like an IRA or investments or stock, securities, insurance, property, all these different things. So I really encourage you to think about the other ways that people can give besides cash, because that's where most people's assets lie. Okay, so crypto philanthropy is inspiring people to give by enabling direct donations and cause-based impact investing. So what is cause-based impact investing? Well, the switch from organization-focused to cause-based funding means all of us should really be adopting crypto donation capability. And this is going to open new opportunities for nonprofits. And it's going to disrupt really the traditional forms of giving, I think. And what cause-based investment means, or cause-based giving, is people are not so much interested in the institution as they are the cause. So if people are hurting and they want to look for somebody, what they're typically Google, they're not looking for the United Way or the American Red Cross or St. Jude's. They're looking for the cause and then looking to see who they can find that might be providing those types of services. Okay, so Cause-based philanthropy is growing. The Giving Block, which is an organization that helps with different types of crypto philanthropy transactions, has introduced a impact cause fund like list to help donors direct their giving towards specific causes that they're passionate about. So this is a trend that you may want to be involved with. If you're doing things on the internet, such as social media, your website, etc., what are the keyword phrases and things that are out there that talk about your cause? So that when people are Googling and searching for, I want to help with homelessness, or I want to help with art, that your name is coming up in that search because you've used those keywords. So it's not so much about the institution anymore. I think in general, we're seeing I'm trying to think of the word, the lack of institutionalized focus by our younger generations that are coming up, especially around faith and religion. A lot of them are stepping away from those major institutions. And I think the same thing is happening, this is repeating itself in other areas such as philanthropy as well. All right, so we're going to get to this. What is cryptocurrency? So let's kind of demystify exactly what the heck this thing is. So first of all, cryptocurrency is like a digital asset that exists on a network, as I was mentioning. So, and that network is spread out over a huge number of computers. All right, so it's like I said on the slide here, it's digital or virtual forms of money which run on decentralized networks. I know it sounds kind of wonky and kind of out there, but it's a decentralized asset. There's like I said, there's no tangible thing that you're touching. There's no real coin that's involved. It is a digital asset, essentially, is the best way to describe it. Okay, so let's see here. So basically, how are they used? Well, it's a good way to buy goods or services. You can go to McDonald's, some McDonald's, and buy it. You can purchase your satellite TV, but it's also an investment tool. It's just similar to like Home Depot stock, where people can purchase it and invest it and hope that the gains will outweigh the losses in the long term. So that's a common form or common use. Some of the common uses for cryptocurrency. You can even like I said earlier, you can go to college. You can buy a college degree basically with cryptocurrency. So who are some of the big players? Well, basically, there are over 14,000 different cryptocurrencies in the United States or worldwide right now. But these are some of the more common ones that you've probably heard of. So Bitcoin, Ripple, Litecoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin. Remember I said my goal for 2022 was to become a smarter person regarding digital currencies, and just to give you a sense of my lack of understanding of it prior to 2022, I thought that was pronounced doggy coin because there was a picture of a dog on it. But so don't feel embarrassed if you don't know how to pronounce all of these, or if you don't understand the currency itself. There is a learning curve involved with it. So, but these again are some of the more common ones that you probably see. And if somebody were to donate, you might see these as part of their donation. So how is it valued? Well, crypto works in a way that, the coin is based on value because it has a limited resource, okay? And groups of people have decided that it has value. That's really kind of how it is. It's very similar to the US dollar or to gold or other assets, silver. It's based on what is determined the value of it and how scarce it is, or how limited the resource is. So all currency is a social contract, essentially. We assign a value to it, and everybody agrees to honor that. Okay, that's kind of how the same thing as to how cryptocurrency works. So what's the difference? Well, if you look at stock is held and is backed by company assets. Crypto is not. It's decentralized. There's no single entity that's in charge of the money. So because cryptocurrency isn't backed by assets or cash flow, the only thing moving crypto prices is speculation. So it's very different than stocks. You could say it's similar to stocks in some ways, but in other ways, it's absolutely very different. So cryptocurrency is driven only by the hope that someone will buy it for more in the future, essentially. So that's the difference. Stocks are backed by an ownership interest, and crypto is not backed by an ownership interest or by a company. So again, this limited supply and demand, I put this chart up here just to kind of illustrate. So there are only 18 to 19 million Bitcoins, for instance, currently in circulation. And they say minting is going to stop at 21 million. So the scarcity is a big part of the cryptocurrency's appeal then. Okay, so economic factors influence the price of crypto, just like other currency or investment, like stocks or bonds. And then supply and demand, public sentiment, the news media, market events, other things like that, scarcity, all these different things impact that supply and demand and the valuation. So it is a little complicated, but that it's very similar to how stocks also fluctuate. So this is the chart I wanted to show you. This is Bitcoin's valuation over the entire year of 2021. And I think it's very fascinating to illustrate, because if you look at the far left bottom corner, you'll see a red circle there. At the beginning of 2021, January, the valuation of Bitcoin was just slightly above $20,000. Okay. Then you get to April, and it has jumped up to, holy smokes, it's jumped up to over $60,000 in just 4 months. And then by the summertime, it has dropped down to about $30,000. Then it went back up in November, December. It was approaching $70,000. And then by July of this year, it had dropped down to $47,000. So this is just an idea to illustrate just how volatile cryptocurrency can be. And it's also the reason why a lot of people won't invest in it. They're just too afraid of it. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
May I ask a question sort of on
behalf please.
On behalf of the group? So I'm curious, Annie, if that helps clarify what crypto is. I know it's a difficult concept for me to wrap my head around.
Not really, but I'm Googling as I listen. So that's keep on, Doug. I'll catch up.
I'll keep on. It is kind of hard to grasp again, because it's not a tangible asset. It's a digital asset. That's the difference. One is something I can hold in my hand, like this, or a coin. The other is something that exists on a network, but you still own it, and it's exclusively yours. Nobody else's.
Can I ask a question, Doug?
Yeah. Hey, Alex.
Hi. So a minute ago, you said that it started at 2021 at $20,000.
Yeah.
Does that mean all the Bitcoin out there, or if I wanted to buy one Bitcoin, it was worth $20,000?
That's correct. That's one share. I'm sorry I didn't specify that earlier, but thank you for asking.
If I'd bought one share, it would have cost me $20,000.
Yes, but you don't have to buy a whole share. You could buy a portion of it. If you wanted to invest $5,000 in Bitcoin, you could get that portion of one share.
Because otherwise, I can't imagine why all these millennials could have gotten in.
Well, they got in a lot earlier, sooner. First of all, it wasn't valued at that. But second of all, you don't have to buy a whole share. You can buy a part of a share, and that's how it was affordable.
Well, what's the lowest part that you can buy? Do you know?
$1. Yeah, I'm not sure what the smallest amount is, but it doesn't have to be $20,000.
Okay, great.
It could be a couple $100s if you want it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for asking.
Doug, I'm curious. You mentioned how crypto is unlike a stock or a standard currency, not backed or guaranteed, and so there's supply and demand, and supposedly there's a cap on supply. But is there any actual cap on supply? I mean, or how would such a thing be enforced?
Well, the companies are enforcing it. It's not government regulated yet. Again, the next slide, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the government and what wanting to do or what they're looking into. So Bitcoin, it says they're going to cap theirs at 21 million shares that are available. And others are following that lead also, because otherwise, if there's an unlimited amount of availability, then the valuation is going to go way down. So you limit the amount that's available so that you will have a better valuation on it. Okay, so it's more, I think, self-regulated by each organization, but to that end, the government's going to get more involved moving forward. So in March of this year, the White House signed an executive order calling for the government to examine the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies. So they're going to focus on 6 areas. They're going to look at consumer protection, financial stability, illicit activity, competitiveness, financial inclusion, and responsible innovation. Whatever some of those terms mean, I'm not exactly sure. But they've even talked about exploring creating a digital dollar for the United States. And of course, I mentioned to you earlier that the IRS is already involved in crypto philanthropy, and that you do have to claim that valuation. But they're looking at increasing the reporting requirements by the end of 2024 for holding cryptocurrency. So there are some things that I think will be coming down the road. Part of the appeal of crypto for investors is that there is a lack of regulation. But it won't be long before I think the government will be more involved and there'll be more regulation. And that will be, again, this first one here, consumer protection, I think that's probably one of the key focus areas of their key focus areas, is to ensure that the consumer is protected from this very volatile currency. Okay, so we need to talk about blockchain, because blockchain is kind of an integral part of what cryptocurrency is. So blockchain is essentially the data which is stored inside a block, depends on the type of blockchain. So it's a database, okay? Blockchain is a database that's a chain of blocks that contain information. So if, for example, here, if you're looking at one Bitcoin block, it includes just some basic information: the sender ID, the name of the person, the recipient ID, the name of that recipient, and then the number of Bitcoins being transferred. That's it. In the simplest form, that's what it is. But then there's this block of chains that tracks these transactions. So in other words, let's see if you're, hang on a second. Yeah, okay. So a blockchain allows essentially Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to operate without the need for this centralized authority that we were talking about earlier, like a bank or an investment firm. So this is what a blockchain looks like. It's a big database, okay? It's spread across a bunch of computers. It operates without that need for central authority, and it eliminates some of those transaction fees that we were talking about earlier. So that's what a blockchain essentially is. So if you look at it this way, blockchain is the ledger to keep track of who owns digital tokens. So when you purchase crypto, the blockchain is essentially tracking you and your ownership of that. So there is a process. That's your protection, if you will, that database. So each additional block then strengthens the verification of the previous block and then the entire blockchain. How does it do that? I can't tell you. I'm telling you what I know about crypto. I don't know it all yet. I don't know if I ever will. It's the algorithms and the way that they've designed this is rather complex. But what I can tell you is that every time that block is added to the chain, it adds to it strengthens the verification process of those other blocks that are in the process. So Bitcoin is a digital token. Blockchain is the ledger that tracks those transactions. Okay. Okay, so blockchains aren't just for crypto anymore either. This technology is transforming a lot of organizations. Financial institutions are using it. Major corporations are using this to track information. So blockchain in its simplest form is just used to store data. It doesn't have to be just cryptocurrency. So banks are building blockchains that can track payments between accounts. The government's experimenting with using blockchains to store property records, votes, other things, so there's a lot of different uses for the blockchain technology. I want to jump into NFTs for a moment because I think it's important for us to talk about what an NFT is. NFT is simply a non-fungible token. And I say simply, and that really is kind of a condescending way of describing NFT, because for most of us, we don't know what a non-fungible token is. But essentially, non-fungible is a unique digital identifier. So there's only one of them and it cannot be duplicated, okay? So the token is something that holds value. Non-fungible means it's not possible to copy it or substitute it, okay? So I want to give you some examples of what a non-fungible token is, so to help kind of better illustrate exactly what an NFT is. So let's go to this illustration for a moment. So, the most common form of a NFT is digital art. At least it is now. And then, so now, for instance, this is the Ukraine. Ukraine is selling a timeline of the Russian invasion as NFTs, okay, to raise money. And they've raised a good bit of money. So these assets are bought or purchased and then stored on a blockchain, which prevents the duplication of the asset, and it also confirms your ownership of it. So you can buy an NFT and it'll only be yours because it's unique and there's not another one of them, and it can't be replicated because of the blockchain technology. Okay, so I believe that they've raised millions of dollars already for Ukraine by selling these NFTs. Now, let's talk about a way that you could use NFTs as a donation. So there's a couple different ways. Number one, you could flip it. So basically, the seller of the asset selects a charity cause to donate all or a portion of their earnings on the sale of the NFT, or you might create your own project where it's created with the intention of raising money. So you create a specific NFT that would be used for raising money. So let me tell you how this might work. This is an example I like to use from Ellen. What Ellen did was she auctioned off the NFT, this digital token, of a 4.5-minute monologue. Now, I guess nobody saw the monologue, so that's how it was unique, and it was digitized. And what she decided to do was she was going to auction this NFT to the public. The NFT sold for $14,555, and 100% of those proceeds that were raised went to benefit World Central Kitchen. Okay, so she created this special digitized monologue that nobody else can own and sold it for almost 15 grand. So does that plant any seeds with you, possibly? Does that give you any ideas? Think for a moment about how you might be able to do something with an NFT to help raise money for your organization. So when you're having conversations with people, they might have a digital asset that they could use to help raise money for your organization, or you might be able to create your own.
Doug?
Yeah.
I have a question. Does
Yeah,
the asset have to be digitized?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Well, maybe re-ask the question. What do you mean? Does it have to be?
I'm wondering if non-digitized assets could somehow become NFTs. I know that there are people who are like writing songs that are becoming NFTs, but I'm just wondering if any non-digitized assets could possibly be NFTs.
Like, for instance, if I don't know enough about how the technology works to know if that could be validated as a unique asset. So taking something that's not digital, like a picture, and taking a photograph of this painting and digitizing it and turning it into an NFT, because there's something that existed beyond that as a non-digital asset, I don't think it can be.
Okay.
But that's a really, really good question. I'm 50% confident in my answer.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
But I would like to find out. So I'm gonna write that one down.
Okay.
If I can find out if a non-digital asset can be turned into a unique digital asset. That's a great question, Amy. Thanks for stumping the chump today.
I got a question if I can stop you.
Yeah.
So let's say Amy decided to get a special musical group that was in town in May. And they were doing something in May. And then she pulled them aside and said, look, I want you to do a 4-minute version of God Bless America in your unique style.
Mhm.
All right. So she got him to do this and she recorded it somehow. What's the difference with telling the world that they could get this for the July 4th celebration? They could buy this for $15 or making an NFT out of it.
Your question, Alex, is what's the difference between what and the NFT?
Well, I would think, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that you could do that and quote, make an NFT out of it. Why
Right.
why would you make an NFT out of it if you could just put an email out to your entire donor base and say, for $15, you can get a copy of this thing?
Well, you know, that actually has been done. So let me give you an illustration. So some of you may have heard about the LeBron James NFT where he's dunking a basketball. If you haven't heard about it, it was a digital asset that was created. What they did was they actually created multiple variations of this digital asset of him really dunking a basketball. Okay. But they were all sold for, you know, whatever the valuation at the time was. So one of them sold for almost $400,000. So you could take that asset as long as it's unique in some way. It's not the same as the other one that was just sold, and you could create multiple NFTs of that type of thing.
So somebody spent $387,000 for one NFT of LeBron James dunking a basketball, hoping that in 8 years he could sell it for $500,000 to some fool who wanted to buy it.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
So an NFT is sort of like a baseball card.
Yeah, it precisely. You know, or it's basically whatever you collect. If you collect matchbook covers, what's driving the valuation of matchbook covers? It's you know, whatever the person is willing to pay for it, essentially. You know, whatever
does anybody else have the mental thought when you hear about this stuff that says, I quit forever? I can't handle any more things like this.
Alex,
I mean,
I'm
this
afraid-
isn't even cryptocurrency. This is something else.
Right.
Right.
And listen, I'm hearing people talk about NFTs in other cities. So, you know, we either have to get with the program or quit, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be like totally virtual at some point, Alex.
No, we won't.
That's a great point. Well, you know, I mean, to that end, you know, Alex, not to burst the bubble of this $400,000 transaction, but there was somebody who actually paid over $600,000. No, it was not quite $600,000 for an animation of a cat with a rainbow shooting out of its butt. I'm not joking. That you know, again, it's all based on speculation what an individual is willing to pay for it. So but you know, NFTs, I think the point I'm trying to make here is not that there's a bunch of crazy people out there spending crazy kinds of money on foolish things. It's not foolish to the buyer, to the investor. It's the valuation, but it is also something that can be donated to you. Okay, or preferably they would sell it and use some of the proceeds or all of that to benefit your organization. Or you could create your own NFTs and create some type of unique thing. There's really some interesting opportunities here to really kind of start massaging about how you might benefit.
So you could do a bargain sale of an NFT and the charity could buy it for $50,000, even though it should be worth $600,000. And that happy board meeting you go to and say, hey, did I get us a good deal? I bought a cat with what shooting out of its butt, something shooting out of its butt. And it only cost us $50,000. Again, I quit.
Well, you know what? Actually, you wouldn't have to quit because your board would probably invite you to leave if you bought an NFT like that.
Yeah.
But the point is, again, you know, I don't think NFTs are something that a nonprofit is going to want to invest in or purchase, but rather be the beneficiary of a sale of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like all the engagement rings I've been handed over the years. Thanks a lot. Sorry. But
Yeah,
I can
it's
sell
really,
it for $1.95.
yeah, it's really, again, you know, it's just something to start thinking about as to how could we take advantage of this? Could we be communicating to our donors that you know, NFTs, the sale of an NFT could be a way to help you save on your capital gains. If you sell an asset, if that $400,000 becomes $1 million, you have a $600,000 gain. You're going to pay some crazy taxes on that $600,000, but you could help reduce some of that by donating some of the value of that. So there's some opportunities here for NFTs that we haven't really explored deeply. But the thought of actually creating your own could be another way for you to raise money, right? Just a thought. Let me move
I'll
on.
stop. It looks like Richard has a real question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Richard.
He sent it on the chat, so somebody needs to
Oh,
read it.
I'm here. I'm here. Sorry. Doug,
read
I
it.
was asking about the environmental and energy impacts of crypto and blockchain technologies and the processing, and if that makes it a poor investment for environmental orgs or other orgs that do understand the environmental impacts on communities and the inequity there.
Yeah, great question. And this comes up, ideally it comes up almost every time I give this presentation. And it is a common question that's asked because there can be an environmental impact because of the enormous amount of energy that's used to manage these networks, these databases. And so that has been an issue, but I'm pleased to say that the technology is also improving to reduce those emissions and usage of energy in order to do that. And some actually are set up completely with solar energy to help power those databases that are required to run these cryptocurrencies. So there is innovation that has been implemented to help reduce the amount of power usage and cost savings and things. So I would say it is an issue, and certainly there are people that are very passionate about it. But there are some organizations that have made it kind of their platform. Some of the cryptocurrencies have made it their platform that they are more energy friendly and they're using less of our carbon footprint in order to power these cryptocurrencies, but it is something to keep an eye on. But definitely, I would say that cryptocurrencies in general are moving in the right direction as far as reducing their footprint. Good question. So let's jump into donating crypto here. Let's talk about what are the motivations for donating, accepting cryptocurrencies. All right. So first of all, the tax savings is really the driving force behind donating cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrencies are subject to federal capital gains taxes, as I've mentioned several times now. And those capital gains are essentially what the increase in what was paid for versus what the asset in its current value form is. Okay, so one of the nice things about crypto is that it can take fewer steps than making a gift using a credit card or cash. If you really look at some of the things that are involved with it. But you know, why would somebody want to donate crypto? It really, you know, it's to support causes that people care about, you know, and at the same time receiving a tax benefit. So, and again, it's just another way of giving to your organization that they haven't had the opportunity to in the past. It's fast and easy. But there's just a lot of good reasons why people want to donate crypto these days.
Can I stop you again?
Sure.
Do you need a board policy saying when we get a gift of something like this, particularly that is so highly speculative, we will immediately sell it?
Yes, you should. And I'm going to cover that in just a few
Okay,
slides. So that's a great question. You know, again, here's some other reasons, why you should accept crypto. We talked about in the previous slide, why donate it, but why do you want to accept it? Well, it's really the fastest growing donation method for millennial and Gen Z donors right now. So that's one really important reason. Another reason is it's another way to support your organization. And it really shows that you're willing to embrace innovation and new ideas to help grow your philanthropic support. So that can be appealing to people also. Crypto investors love other crypto investors because it's kind of like a club, and they like organizations that are willing to accept crypto as a form of payment. They like organizations that like to accept crypto as a form of a charitable gift as well. So you're expanding your giving options and you're engaging that younger donor demographic that we really desperately want to engage on a higher level. Just a couple more things on why you want to accept crypto. The significant appreciation over the last several years has really increased people's crypto assets. And so a lot of these folks are sitting on quite a big bankroll of money as a result of their crypto investments. Again, we talked about donations to donor advised funds. So crypto donations to donor advised funds are growing rapidly. Remember that graphic I put up earlier where we had about $250 some million in donor advised funds last year, and they expect it'll be at $1 billion by the end of this year. So it's really crazy the amount of growth that we're seeing in donor advised funds from crypto assets. And then, again, people are looking for you. Do you accept crypto? And if you don't, what's going to happen? They're probably going to find another organization or institution that does accept cryptocurrency as a donation form. But one of the side benefits is these folks, again, as I said earlier, are more charitable. So you're going to have a higher average gift value from a crypto donation than you might from some other type of asset that's given. Okay. So remember we were talking about Ukraine earlier. Who gives crypto? Well, the most common form of crypto donations are coming from young tech-savvy adults, but these folks are really supporting causes again, like we were talking about earlier. So what happened in this Ukraine example that I have up here is that they read these heartfelt stories and they bonded emotionally to those particular events. And it's those stories about what happened that really caused them to invest. So some of these narratives that were shared on Twitter related to the war have led to about $100 million in crypto donations to the Ukraine. So that's why using crypto donations is so important, because people are willing to give to causes that they are really passionate about. So let's talk about how you would get started doing this. And Alex, you talked about, well, what do we need as far as approval from the board or from the leadership? That's absolutely going to be one of the more important things that you're going to want to look at first. So number one, I think it's important to review and update your gift acceptance policy. I think that your gift acceptance policy for crypto donations is going to be nearly identical to what your policy is for stocks. So when you accept a stock donation, you don't accept it and then hold on to it and see what the market's going to do you? No, your policy most likely says that when you receive a stock donation, that you actually instruct your financial institution to sell that immediately so that there is no fluctuation in the valuation. It's easier on the organization. It's also easier on the donor because they want to make sure that if they gave you $10,000 worth of Home Depot stock, that you didn't sit on it for 2 weeks and then sell it for $9,500. And then they get a letter saying, wow, what happened? So it's really important to have a policy in place, though. So you want to add something to your gift acceptance policy that indicates that you will accept crypto, that you can accept crypto, and here's how you will handle that when that transaction occurs. Now, you may have some board members who are a little bit nervous about this. So I want to give you a little tip when talking to your board about whether or not to accept crypto donations. There's no risk to you. Okay, that's what you need to tell the board, because that's all they're worried about, the risk. when you accept crypto donations, you're going to use something called a third-party processor, okay? Just like you have a third-party payment processor for your credit card transactions, you would do the same thing for processing a crypto payment or a crypto donation. Okay, so that entity is going to is going to accept that contribution, and they're going to immediately sell that because you are instructing them to sell that, so that you get the full valuation, or at closest to the full valuation of what it was sold for as possible. Okay, so you can quickly and safely accept cryptocurrency and get it converted to cash, which is then put into your account. So here are some players in this field. There are tons of third-party processors out there. These are just a few of them: BitPay and Given, org, the Giving Block, etc. The Giving Block and in Given help nonprofits accept donations to their own wallet, which allows them to hold on to the crypto as an investment if they wish. But I don't really recommend you having your own wallet. I want to pause for a second. There are a lot of ways to doing this, but Ben, you said Ben Pendry, sorry, not the other Ben, but do you want to speak for a moment about why your organization decided to create a wallet? Would you mind sharing? Is he still on?
Hi, so this is Victoria Rudd. Ben had to step out for a little bit, so he's not here, and I don't know if any of us can answer your question. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. Well, we'll keep going then. So third-party payment processors are there to help you. They are there to help transfer that contribution of cryptocurrency, which is a digital asset, into cash, which is then deposited into your account. Okay. Now,
What do they charge?
I'm getting to that. Thank you. So every.org, for instance, every.org is a nonprofit, and they do not take a fee. Okay. And they have over 1 million nonprofits that right now that are using their services to transfer or transition that crypto philanthropy to cash. So, but most of these other organizations are going to charge some type of fee. So for instance, Given is one of those that I mentioned on the previous slide. Their processing fees are 4% for their standard plan and no annual fee. Now, if you want to do a little bit more and have more options, you go to their premium service. It's $1,500 a year, and then your transaction fee lowers to 3%. So most of these payment processors are charging between 3 and 4% per transaction. And so what are those premium features? Well, it could be one of many things actually, but some of them might be automated tax form generation, because there are tax forms that are going to have to be completed by the donor and by you now moving forward. And I'll cover that in a few more slides. But there's generally this more advanced program or premium program that they have is going to offer greater customization to do some of the things that you might want to do. So I think the Giving Block charges a 5% fee on all donations received, in addition to a monthly or annual subscription. But I think it's safe to say you could steer away from crypto donation services that charge more than a percentage or two, because it can quickly add up for you. So, you know, you're going to be doing some due diligence on this if you decide to move forward and accept crypto. So when you're doing your due diligence, these are some of the questions you want to ask. And I've got a few more questions for you on the next slide that you're going to want to look at. So there are other alternatives like Coinbase, Gemini, Infinite Giving is another one. There are all kinds of payment processors that are out there. So let me talk about the top 40 for a moment. A lot of organizations that are third-party payment processors accept maybe the top more common cryptocurrencies. I use the top 40 because a lot of them have about 40 that they accept, but there are other organizations that are starting to do more. Like for instance, Free Will. They will accept up to 120 different types of cryptocurrency as a form of a gift payment. And I think that trend will continue to grow also as crypto philanthropy grows, and payment processors are going to get, I think, encouraged to expand their portfolio of the types of currencies that they accept. But most payment processors only accept the most common cryptocurrencies right now. But that's changing as we speak. So, should you use a personal wallet? So, it's a huge ask, I think, for organizations whose primary purpose is not in cryptocurrency. But if you do go through it, you can use wallets which are online. You can use software wallets which are downloaded, and then you can actually use hardware wallets which are devices. It's a way for you to accept the cryptocurrency versus having a third-party processor do it. Okay, so it gives you control of the crypto donations, but you really have to have an in-depth knowledge of how cryptocurrency works and how those transactions work and the valuations. So, I don't know about you, but as a development officer, I think most of us would rather pass on trying to manage that process and understand that process and allow an expert like some of those third-party payment processors to help handle those transactions for us. So again, there are some reasons why some institutions would want to keep and have their own wallet internally so they can have more control over it. But that's really not going to be my recommendation in general. Here's a nice illustration of the American Cancer Society and how they changed their giving page to illustrate that they accept cryptocurrency. So, on anybody's website, you should have, of course, a couple essential things. Number one, a giving page, but number two, ways to give. What are the different ways that you can make a gift to your organization? Of course, you can make a credit card donation online. You could give assets, you could give stock, but you can add crypto. Hopefully, as you move forward, you can add crypto to your portfolio. And so if you do want to accept crypto, they have a nice page, a link here. So when they click on cryptocurrency, it brings up this page and it says your cryptocurrency donation is tax deductible and can support our mission. And so what you see here is this little giving thing here down below it. You can see number one is the pledge, number two is the information they need, and number three is proceeding with the transaction. And there's a drop down menu here, and you can see that Bitcoin is listed in there, but when you click on that drop down menu, it's going to drop down all the other types of cryptocurrency they accept. So this is a really good illustration if you want to look at it yourself and get a feel for what their crypto philanthropy page looks like. Go to this page on American Cancer Society and you'll see how it works. Let me pause and see if there are some more questions. All right, I'm going to keep moving. We're just got a few more slides and then we'll wrap up and we can field anything finally. I thought this was a really nice way of promoting that you offer or you accept crypto donations. So this was the New Jersey Jewish Link newspaper. They took a half-page ad out and they put on there, go with crypto. Cryptocurrency donations will be matched dollar for dollar. So they found a donor who would match contributions from crypto dollar for dollar. So a way to inspire people to give through their crypto. And they even put a QR code here on the ad to let people know. So again, if you're going to accept crypto, make sure that you have a marketing plan in place to announce it, to promote it, to let people know your constituency that you accept crypto donations. So here's what you're going to need. This is the second thing is, I think, or the first thing I think I mentioned was you're going to need an updated gift acceptance policy. Another thing you're going to need to do is fill out an IRS form. Okay, so for any crypto gift of $500 or more, the nonprofit is going to be required to fill out IRS form 8282. Okay, now, when you're doing your due diligence with your third-party processors, make sure you ask them about this because some of them will offer to submit that form for you. Now, to me, that sounds like a no-brainer. If I'm doing my due diligence on third-party payment processors, I'm gonna pick somebody who's doing that process for me. Because who wants to have to fill out a form 8282 for a donation every time it comes in? Not that you're going to be getting them every day, but still, to have this process streamlined with a third-party payment processor, it may be worth that extra percentage point or whatever you pay to help make that transaction happen. But please do know that any gift of $500 or more, you are going to have that form completed and submitted to the IRS. Never heard anything like this before. You don't have to do it with the stock gift, but with cryptocurrency, you're going to need to do it. Now, not only will you need to fill out a form, but so does the donor. So the donor has to fill out form 8283. you have to fill out 8282. They have to fill out 8283. Okay, so remember, crypto donations are treated as property, not as cash. So, and there's one other rule. In order to donate crypto, you have to have held that asset for at least 1 year in order to earn a deduction. Okay, so when people are donating their crypto, it might be helpful to tell them that you have to have held on to that asset for at least a year in order to earn your deduction. And then the donor completes that 8283 for gifts of $500 or more. Okay, so these are all really good tips of ways that you can help your donor understand the value of donating crypto, but also what's required and to help them through the process if they've never done it before.
Doug, I'm sorry to break in.
Yeah.
Just want to acknowledge that we've run a bit over time. We've lost a few people who've had to jump to other meetings, but
yeah, I am wrapping up. So thank you for the nudge. So basically, again here, the donor gifts of $5,000 have to be appraised by a qualified expert. Those appraisal fees can be $100 to $600 depending on who it is, but some payment processors will do that for the donor. So do your due diligence. Don't get a wallet. Just sell the crypto as soon as you get it, and you'll be okay. And there will be no risk for you and the board. So here it is, 1, 2, 3. Update your giving policies in your website now. Find a payment processor and start letting your donors know you accept crypto donations, and you'll be on your way. So that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if we have any time left.
I'll ask a quick question, Doug. Obviously, the 1 year holding rule does not apply to charities.
That is correct. Yeah, that is for the holder of the asset who's trying to donate it. Because you're not going to be holding on to that asset. You're going to have that payment processor sell that right away. Anybody else?
I've got to say that when I started my first job with an agency in 1986, at that point, lots of large company or nonprofits would not take on a charitable gift annuity. And of course, that's changed over the years. And I'm sure the number of wallets that we're going to see as the years go on will increase dramatically.
Yeah, I think crypto is being adopted at a much more rapid pace than some of these other ways of giving or technology, if you will. The adoption of the internet, I think, took a lot longer than the adoption of crypto for a lot of people. So it's going to be more rapid anyway, but it's still been around a good while. It's been around for over a decade. So yeah, I think we'll start seeing more and more people, but I really encourage everybody to seriously consider this. If you have a donor who wants to give crypto and you're not set up to do it, they could go somewhere else and give their crypto somewhere else, and you don't want to be in that position.
Great job, Doug.
Yeah, Doug,
Thank
this
you.
was fantastic. Some folks have had to sign off, but lots of people expressing gratitude in the chat. Thanks so much for this.
Yeah,
I learned a lot.
absolutely, my pleasure.
If we want to know, like, I have questions for you, but they're going to take too long for you to answer. We'll be here all day. Where do you advise us to go to learn more?
Well, I would advise you to start looking, if in its simplest form, you could Google some of those organizations and start talking to some of them and start to do some due diligence around what a third-party payment processor would do. So I think there's a slide back here. Here are some of those folks that you would want to start talking to. So these are some of the more common that I put up here because I felt like that might be the most helpful for you. So BitPay and Giving Block, every org, and then Free Will.
I really mean just even understanding cryptocurrency.
Okay. Boy, there are so many resources. I've done a lot of research on it and had looked at a lot of different resources. I'll see if I can find some things that would be helpful and forward them on to you.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Doug, when
Yes.
will you be sending out the link to the recorded?
I'll let Ben answer that.
So Marilyn, we'll get the slides and the recording together and we'll get those out within the next week.
Great. It was very good, but I missed some of the beginning and
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, everyone. We will see you in October at the Wedge for Cheryl Aikman's presentation. Thanks, everybody, for joining today and learning more about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Done.
You.
Thank you.
All right.